First overrated, underrated of 2024. And we are glad to be back together again with producer Josh Elliott Wolf.
Hello, I missed you guys.
It's been a while.
Yeah. He was getting up early working with Brooke Ward in the morning show.
Yeah.
Overrated, underrated, waking up at 4 a.m.
It's always overrated. There is no benefit to it. Other than, like, people will be like, oh, you get the whole day. And I'm like, well, I'm tired for the whole day.
Yeah. Was there at least like a coffee spot on your drive in?
Not really.
No.
Not really.
It's tough.
I would have to make a tea at home and then bring it in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Tea.
I'm a tea guy.
That's
tea.
right.
Overrated, underrated.
Definitely underrated.
I agree.
As much as I love my coffee, I like a nice nighttime tea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A little bit of chamomilla every once in a while, some peppermint.
Yeah, I have chamomile tea every night now.
Every night?
Every night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of having like a drink every night before bed, now I'm having a chamomile tea every night before bed.
Helps
Probably
you to,
a good call.
It's been a lot better.
the chamomile tea helps the engine turn off.
Yeah.
I would say.
All right. We will start with this. I didn't know how to transition, so we're going to start with this one. First, I have an audio clip to play.
Okay.
Should watch the game, Jancer.
So this one from Jamie Dodd. Watching the games, overrated or underrated?
Oh, man. I mean, obviously.
For a lot of people, it seems like overrated because they just look at their spreadsheets and figure out like, oh, yeah, that guy's good. No, that guy's bad. No, this team can't defend. No, this team, they're fine. Look at the way their expected goals are. It's fine.
Are you talking about Drancer?
I didn't say a name.
Okay, all right. just
I know Drance watches the games. So.
Yeah, no, he was at the game.
I know he watches like an insane amount of hockey.
Yeah, dude.
To a
I would.
extent.
So to me, like honestly, that whole exchange, it was funny because JT kind of did it with a bit of a smirk.
Yes.
Like to me, it was more like and I'm not saying they were buddies. It was more like a kind of a ribbing you'd get from like a buddy or something.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like in the office, if you did something like that, I mean, we'd be like, yeah, watch the game, Dumbo, or something. You know what I mean? Like we'd make that type of comment and it'd be a joke. That's the way it came off to me. It didn't come off as like this guy's a jerk and he's going at Drancer.
100% it came off that way.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's the kind of thing that
I thought it was great.
I would expect JT to do, and
Yeah.
I like love that he did it rather than just like gloss over it and not even like point out the mistake that somebody made.
Yeah, I mean, he called him by the nickname.
Yes.
Drancer. He didn't say, watch the game, man. Like, if he said it like, maybe you should try watching the game, you know, I'd be like, all right, like, oh, he's being really pissy
He delivered
about
it with perfection
He did.
because that's what JT does. He delivers with perfection. It was great. But yes, watching the games, underrated.
Next one from Dimitri. Playing for 20 minutes and then coasting for 40. Overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
I mean, generally speaking, it's overrated. Like, you shouldn't coast. But up 5-0. 5. It's the biggest lead they had in the first period this season. Like, even in the drubbings, like, of the first game of the year, they had 3 in the first.
Yeah.
Against San Jose, when they had 10 goals, they had 4 in the first. They had 5. And even in the San Jose game, remember, like, they weren't even trying, and they were just scoring goals because San Jose was that bad.
Yes.
Like, the Canucks weren't doing. The Canucks had, like, I think 3 chances and scored on all of them in the second period.
It was that San Jose game was just such a joke because the Canucks would just like connect 3 passes and they'd be in on a 2-on-1.
Yeah, it was really stupid. Like, they didn't have to do anything. Like, at least Ottawa was trying in the second. You know, they worked hard, and then the forecheck. They tried to make it difficult for Vancouver.
So the reason I say it's underrated. Okay, yes, I get it. It wasn't a good look. Coach wasn't too happy. Miller made his comments about the final 40 not being good enough and all those different types of things. Warranted. Over the course of an 82-game season, managing your minutes, underrated. And I feel like the Canucks were managing their minutes last night a little bit. And you can put in all the extra parts of it where you're up 5-0. Game is essentially over. Hard to maintain that intensity in a non-competitive game. And so I get it. Plus, you got a big 7-game road trip with a ton of games coming up in a short period of time. So probably good to conserve a little bit of energy getting ready for this big roadie. Underrated.
This one from Corbin. Point percentage. Overrated or underrated?
Underrated. I mean, I don't get the push against point percentage.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't
think
understand.
Because it
like, I don't get
directly
it.
doesn't benefit the Canucks. Whereas if the Canucks had a better point percentage and less points, people would be like, "Oh, look at the point percentage, though."
Well, they're pretty good now, aren't they? I mean, well,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have the third best point percentage in the league right
So
now.
it's
They have
fourth best.
Fourth best.
So it's
second
a
best in the
one-spot
Western
difference.
Conference
By like one, like what is it?
by a hair.
Yeah.
The Winnipeg Jets are just better by a hair.
By 0.005%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like negligible.
Very, very small.
Yeah.
Look, point percentage is the better way of looking at the standings. As much as I poke fun at it, yes, it is true, but more so from a
Like it's just a fact. It's
Yes.
just like it's just a fact of your percentage of points you have in the games you've played and how that compares to other teams.
I think when you're like in the context of like debating of whether or not Vegas or LA is better or the Canucks are better because their points percentage is a little bit higher or a little bit lower, like that's not a real conversation to me.
Well, yeah, debating points versus point percentage is semantics, and I have no interest in debating semantics.
But like, you know, if you see like when you're sort of thinking about it, like the last couple of years for the Canucks, when they got off to such terrible starts and you're like, well, they now need a 700 points percentage to make the playoffs. Then it really tells you the daunting task that lies ahead of them. Because for as good as they've been this season, right? Like we were talking at the beginning of November or mid-November last year, the Canucks need to be on a 700 points percentage for the rest of the season to make the playoffs. As good as they've been this season, they're still short of a 700 points percentage. So
That's how good they've been, and that shows you how hard it was going to be.
yeah, I think like there's different ways, different contexts that it can be used in to make it more valuable, but some of the ways that it's been debated this year with, you know, like, oh, the LA is still like, I don't really care. Like, I know the Canucks are a pretty good hockey team, and their points percentage being a smidgen below or above the LA Kings shouldn't matter all that
Wow,
much.
the Canucks are above the Kings now, and the Kings are 4-5-1 in their last 10 and have lost 3 in a row.
There you go. Ebbs and flows to a season.